afternoon, depending on where you're at in the country. Let's see. We've got Kimber.
I'm here.
Oh, there you are. Hello, Gordon. Good morning.
Good morning.
I'm excited to have this conversation because this is something for me that has been kind of an evolution over the last, I'll call it like 5 to 7 years. It's been a process of, if some of you have been in these classes before, but we talk about this idea of CANI, which is CANI. It's this constant and never-ending improvement process that happens in business, or that should happen. Oftentimes we get kind of stuck in doing things one way over time, and we don't look at ways to make things better. And ultimately, what I believe is that the quality of our systems in our business actually have a huge and massive impact on the quality of results that we get. And so we're going to be talking today about how you can improve the systems overall that you have already built in your business, but also use artificial intelligence to make your business more intelligent. And I think this is going to be something where we're going to go through a lot. So you're going to feel kind of overwhelmed, like you might be behind in some of these categories. And that's okay, because there's people who are in all running, different shapes and sizes of businesses that are on this call today. And I want to make sure that we touch people in all these different categories, starting with, how do you really just get organized and start building a system that you can rely on? But then also, if you have a team, if you have leverage, if you have support, how do you really empower them by enhancing and improving the system that is powering your business? Kimber, what are you excited about today?
So I always start out these classes with everything I've learned from Shoni. And not necessarily, obviously, everything. And yet he is always the human being prompt of, hey, have you looked at this? Have you tried this? This will make this more efficient. He's done that in market center operations that I'm involved in real estate and otherwise, right? Just as a trainer. And so I bet you will change something about how you operate your daily business after today. And so I'm excited about that. And then I would just add the not disclaimer, but anyone that has registered for this training, we will provide you a recording. We do not publicly publish that. And yet you're in this community right now, you're here in attendance. We will make sure you get the recording. So let's cover that right now so that you can just really focus on immersing yourself in the why behind all this stuff Shoni's going to show us.
Love it. Awesome. Yeah. And if you have questions, feel free to throw them in the chat. We will be monitoring the group chat. So if you have questions, you want me to, double tap on something or go a little bit deeper on a concept, feel free to throw that in the group chat, and Kimber will bring that to my attention. So here's the topic of conversation. How do you organize your chaos? The reality is that most real estate agents, most business owners, it doesn't matter what industry you're in, you are consistently operating within chaos, right? And what I found is that chaos never goes away. It doesn't matter what level of business you scale to. And what you can do, though, is you can organize the chaos. Okay, you can interact with it in a different way. And that's what we're going to have this conversation about and give you guys some specific strategy. Now, I was at Tony Robbins' Business Mastery last week. It's the third time I've gone through this program. And for context of the quality of the individuals that he brings into this room, it's $10,000 for a 4-day course. And he brings in some of the brightest minds in business. My first one was back in 2022. And this last one, he had some really impactful individuals. Some of you might have read the book from Dan Martell, who's on the right-hand side here. He has a book called Buy Back Your Time, which is effectively how do you actually bring in some admin or some level support that allows you to free up your time and really run a business, not just be a solo producer or a solopreneur. And so that's, if you haven't read that book, I highly recommend it. Even if you're just getting started in the business, you need to start thinking about how do you strategically build a business big enough where you need leverage, you need support, you need to bring other people into your ecosystem, providing them with an opportunity, but also buying your time back. And so that's a phenomenal book. And he delivered a lot of content actually on the conversation of AI. On the left-hand side, we have Ron. And he's actually the founder of Panera Bread, and he sold the company in 2017 for $7.6 billion. Now, I know it's not a ton of money, but I think you can, probably live off of that for a couple of years. And, super successful individual. He also had another founder from a company called Pathwater. Some of you might have had some of these water bottles in the past, seen these at the gas station or other places. And I'm going to share a few concepts to tee this conversation up from this event, and then we'll roll into actual strategy. I'll show you behind the scenes some of my systems that have been built out over the last couple of years. These are things that you can go replicate in your own life, in your own business. It's going to free up a ton of time. But I really want you, if nothing more, if you had to jump off early, I want you to hear this principle because I think it's so important to really get scale in your business. So Tony's brought in some other phenomenal individuals in these events. He's had the founder of Lululemon, the chairman of Chick-fil-A. His parents are the ones that created Chick-fil-A. And all these individuals talk about how to scale a business. And one of the things that you'll find is foundational. Very quick, have any of you watched the movie called Founder or The Founder? I can't remember the exact title, about McDonald's. Okay, I'm going to try and find a little video for this because it's actually very intriguing. I'm going to find this clip. But if you actually analyze any successful business, what you'll find is that there's an underlying system that has allowed them to be successful. And I'm going to continually talk about all of you real estate agents as being business owners, because you want to have that mindset that you're not just a sales professional, you actually run your own business, right? And the reality is if you actually start building systems, you can not only free up more time, but also get better results in your business. So the question though that I want you to ask is, what's the chokehold on your growth right now? If you were actually to pause and reflect and start asking yourself, what is stopping me from either growing my income, if that's the goal, or what is stopping me from getting my time back, right? Why am I always busy? And why can I not feel like I get, out of this off the treadmill of consistently having things on my to-do list, right? And we have to analyze first, like, where is the chokehold on growth right now? And I'd love to see some pieces of this in the chat. So if you have some things that come up in your mind, what are some of those things that you feel like are the chokehold for your business right now? What have been roadblocks? What have slowed you down? Is it the shifting market that's happened, since 2022 as interest rates have increased? Has that had an impact on your business? Do you feel like you don't have a consistent way to generate referrals and repeat business? What are some of those things that slow you down? So processes, not having a deep knowledge of the numbers in your business. Love that. Emails. Emails take a little bit of time, right? Lead generation, a stale database, lead generation. Okay, great. Lead conversion. Awesome. So here's one of the core ideas and takeaways that came out of the event for last week, which really does impact all these things that you guys are sharing. And Tony Robbins said that the core of all business comes down to two things. Okay, so this is what I'd recommend writing down. The core of all business comes down to innovation and marketing. Innovation and marketing. And innovation is a focus of finding a better way to meet your clients' needs. Okay, I'm going to repeat that. It's finding a better way to meet your clients' needs. Now, how many of you have been in real estate more than 3 to 4 or 5 years? Okay. Have any of you been in it for longer than 10 years? Okay, a few of you. Have the demands or the requests of clients increased over time? Are they expecting more today than they did 10 years ago from their agent? Absolutely. And are the tools that we have access to, the data that we have access to, does that allow us to provide a different level of support and experience for the client? Absolutely. And so this highlighted piece that I have here says the goal of any successful business is to add more value than anyone else in your industry. So as we're going through this today, what I want you to realize is that the systems in your business actually provide a better quality experience to your clients. So it actually allows you to provide more value, but also to more people. Okay. That's the importance of having systems. And this second piece of marketing. Marketing is getting someone to do business with you over and over again. The best way that you can market yourself as an agent is to deliver the highest possible experience to the clients that you're already working with. Okay. What happens if you deliver an over-the-top experience? You surpass expectations for your clients. Well, that turns into repeat and referral business. That, in my perspective, is the best form of marketing. What that means, though, is you have to inspect what your actual value proposition is up front, but also your delivery process. How are you providing service to your clients? What does that streamlined process look like? And can you say that it is a 10 out of 10? Right. There's always room for improvement, but it takes some time for you to take a step back and actually audit your current processes and procedures and ask yourself, how can I elevate this experience for my clients? Okay. To do this, you had to fall in love with your clients, not your product or service. So don't fall in love with homes. I sit down with a lot of agents, and usually when I ask why they got into real estate, it's either that they wanted more time and flexibility and freedom, or that they love real estate, right? They love the asset. And that's all good, but we have to fall in love with the client journey, the buyers, the sellers, the investors that we're supporting, and ask ourselves, what would make their experience a 10 out of 10? Okay. So we have to know our ideal client, and then we have to create a process that delivers on that. So let's look at some areas where your business can be enhanced and improved through this process. Okay. So let's look at some of these things. Where can you, and I just want you to be aware, again, I'm going to jump through a lot of different systems by design, because all of you are in different scenarios of your business. You just want to pay attention and say, what is the 1, 2, or 3 systems I know that I need to work on over the next 6 months? What do I really need to get organized in my business? A lot of these I share with you, you can do on a Saturday. You can implement them in a weekend. Okay. But let's define what are systems. Systems are simply a repeatable way of doing something that saves you from starting over every time. Okay. So system actually just helps you to get a head start on a process that you repeat over and over again. Okay. And James Clear, he said that you don't rise to the level of your goals, you fall to the level of your systems. So if you've had a goal of increasing your income or serving more clients or getting more time back, saying, hey, I want to earn the same, 200 grand, 300 grand a year, but I want to do it in 20 hours a week instead of 40. What would that look like? Well, it's probably just an improvement on your systems, right? So you're becoming more valuable to how you interact with your clients. Here are different areas where you might want to think through installing systems for your business. This is where you'll see benefits in your business if you really get intentional around the systems you're building. So lead generation and lead follow-up. Funny enough, a lot of the things that are in the chat are items that are on this list. Lead generation and lead follow-up, database and referral system, your listing and marketing system, your buyer and seller client service checklist, your transaction to close coordination, your financial tracking and profitability, your team, your VA, your leverage SOPs. Your SOPs are standard operating procedures. That's what that stands for. And then your personal productivity and weekly planning. Now there's, probably an endless list of things we could create, but those are what I would say is like the top 8, the ones that you really should lean into. And underneath those, you might have 2 or 3 bullet points where you say, well, in the lead generation category, what are the 3 systems that I focus on? In the database and referral system side, how do I create, what is my ultimate referral system? Let's call it that. What do I do strategically that ends up causing referrals to happen in my business? That it's no longer an accident that somebody gave me a referral. It actually happened by design, not by default, right? And so we're going to go through a few of these. We won't have time, unfortunately, today to go through all of them. And the reality is, though, we're going to focus on the ones I think will have the biggest impact on your business. And then this last piece is that systems are the bridge between a solo agent and a business owner. Okay. Systems are the bridge between a solo agent and a business owner. And I've had multiple agents. One of our agents, Rockstar, she moved over from ERA brokers maybe 4.5 years ago. And her last year, she was making about 200 grand a year. And her first year with Keller Williams, she made over 800,000. Now, there wasn't a big difference in what she did other than she got a little bit more systematized in how she was delivering value to her clients. Right. Her approach to organizing her business is what changed. And so this is such a powerful conversation. I actually found this video, so I'm going to share this with you guys really quick. It's probably about 2 minutes long. This is you can go watch the movie. It's called Founder, and it's about Ray, who really ended up helping with franchising McDonald's. Sorry. All right. So I highly recommend, if you haven't seen this movie, it's actually pretty good to go watch. But really what they're highlighting here, what they're showcasing is the power behind McDonald's. How many of you feel that McDonald's has the best burger on the planet? None of you. Because it isn't true, right? What is the value behind McDonald's? It's their speed and efficiency. That's why people go there, right? And so, and somebody's put in the chat, speed, consistency, fast, right? And so you have to understand that there is a ton of value that comes behind you also having systems that allow you to deliver speed and efficiency to your clients. Okay. And if you watch that movie, you'll see that Ray Kroc ended up selling them on partnering, and he went on to franchise McDonald's, but it scaled because it had a system that was scalable. Okay. And so we need to really focus on systems. And the big idea that we're going to focus on today, the number one system, I can go and show you all the bells and whistles of different systems to create. But what actually matters is the foundational structure you're building on top of. And I call that building your second brain. Okay. There's a book out there that you can actually read. It's called Building a Second Brain. And for me, this has been a process where over the last 4 to 5 years, I've really been focused on how do I use this strategically to allow me to be able to operate with more speed, to be able to support more clients. Obviously, I run a couple different businesses. And so how do I do that all with staying organized? And it really comes from this idea. So this is a little snippet from the book, and it says your brain wasn't designed to store information. It was designed to create with it. In a world overflowing with data, notes, emails, and ideas, most of us are overwhelmed because we try to juggle it all in our heads. Forte, who is the author, his promise is if you build an external or digital system, a second brain, to capture, organize, and retrieve information, you allow yourself to free up your mind for thinking, creating, and problem solving. Okay. And so what this process really starts with is asking the question of where are you going to build your second brain? I'm going to show you 2 different alternative options, depending on your tech, savviness and what you enjoy. I'm going to show you one that is simple, easy to deploy as soon as you'd like. And then I'm going to show you one that's a little bit more on the build side, but it is in my perspective, the best way to build a second brain. Okay. So, and let me actually pull over a few different windows. How many of you use Google Suite, either Google Sheets, Google Docs, things like that? Okay, awesome. So the idea that you want to think about is that you don't need to know everything in your business. You don't need to know where everything's at. All you need to know is where to find it. So when you need it, so you need to know where to find it when you need it. And that process is all about how do you organize the information? How many of you love jumping into your Google Drive folder? Is it perfectly clear, clean, and organized? Or is it a little bit chaotic? Okay. Google Drive's a powerful tool, but it's also not really built for organization. It seems like it is, but it isn't. And so we have to look at a few different ways to optimize our business. So I'm going to just show you two different spreadsheets. This is my old way of doing it. And here's how I recommend starting out. If you are already familiar with using Google Sheets, you can also do the same thing with Google Docs. And it's essentially just having some sort of spreadsheet that has a table of contents. So I'm showing you one on my personal business side, and then on our real estate brokerage side, where there's so many different Google Docs, Google Sheets, things that are used to organize different areas of our business. They are used to maintain different systems. And the challenge is, if it's just in Google Drive, you have to remember, dang it, what is that document called? Or what did I name that spreadsheet 3 years ago, right? And so it's very hard to find that information when you actually need it. And so this is a very simple system where all you do is add a column with a numbered, list, and then you put in the specific spreadsheets or Google Docs that you need to link for reference. And then as you can see, you can categorize them. So you can say this is specifically for tracking. This might be for, specific systems that we have in place, or projects, or our coaching program, whatever it might be. You can go ahead and just organize it in one Google Doc. This is how I have it on my personal kind of business. Now, this again was 3 years ago. I'll show you the new version of this. But I had like my goals, my big why, my GPS, which is my business plan, my business tracker, stuff that's personal to life, my taxes, my finances, all these different things. And I can go ahead and jump to those resources whenever needed. So just simply creating a organized Google Sheet that shows you your most important items is really the easiest way to get started with this. And again, you can do this process very quickly. Now, one little hack is when you're in here, if you hit Command K on your keyboard, or Control K, depending on if you're on a PC or Mac, you can actually search for Google links or Google Sheets and Google Documents. You can also go grab them from your Google Drive. So let's just say I'm going to grab a random file. Let's grab this document. I can go ahead and hit share, copy the link, and I can go paste it in and hit tab, and it will actually replace it with that PDF, that Google Sheet, document, whatever it is that I'm linking in there. Okay, so very quickly you can start organizing just on one master sheet, and that kind of becomes your second brain. Okay. The benefit with this as well, again, is like I can jump through any resources. Now I've removed my clients' names on here for just for their purpose, but you have things where it's easy to go back and say, okay, I want to, this is, business tracker from 2021. So I have multiple years where I can go back and jump through 2 different times of my business and see the tracking, right? So again, having systems in place allow you to have this streamlined approach to finding the information that you need when you need it, okay? Google Sheets is a good starting point. I would say it's not your highest and best, okay? And this is why. This is how Google Drive, again, operates. How many of you have a storage unit? I was seeing some statistics. We were looking at investing into storage units, and to see how many people in America have stuff stored in their storage unit, and they haven't even opened it for years, right? And the part of your business is actually much like this, where you have so much Google Docs, Google Sheets, different resources that are kind of boxed away that you never use, you never access, right? And if I asked you to go find a specific resource, you might have to do some digging. You might have to go find it through a process that's just not very simple and clear. So what we're going to look at right now is a new organization system, right? An organization brings clarity in your business. It allows you to operate with efficiency. And so think of this much as like just, simply organizing your garage, or, organizing a closet where you walk in and you can see exactly where things are. You have specific shelves or specific, totes for items, and they're labeled, and it's very easy to navigate and walk around through that garage or through that closet to find what you need. Okay. That's what we want to think about when organizing your second brain. And we're going to look at a tool called Notion for this. This is how I recommend, if you're really going to get serious around this, it is the best tool for building a second brain. How many of you, by raise of hand, use Notion right now? Okay. 3 or 4 of you, 5, 6 or 8. Okay. So I'm going to show you Notion, and then we're going to get into the actual different systems. So again, we're right now just talking about the foundation. Where are you going to store your information or your systems? Where are you going to organize it all? So Google Sheets is one way. Notion is basically like a new form of Google Drive. Okay. It's an organizational platform where you can store information, but it's in a visual way. So if I open up my Google Drive, I can store information in folders, but it's still all cluttered. All these things do not have any connection or relationship to each other. It's just that they were jumped in my Google Drive. So there's no connectedness there, right? Whereas with Notion, you can actually store information in a visually appealing way, but also you can organize it by categories or connectedness of information where, two things have a correlation to each other. We run our organization on this. We paid out roughly $28 million in commissions last year to our agents. Our entire business is ran on this platform. Everything from our core resources, so any projects that we're working on, our goals, our onboarding process to help agents get up to speed in our brokerage. We then have all of our workspace for our leadership team, where they have their own individual dashboard. So it's almost like a shared Google Drive space where we're all connected in that front. And then you have everything from like your standard operating procedures or training calendar. All of that stuff is organized and very easy to find. Okay. So this is on the brokerage side, but I want to show you what it looks like for my personal business. And then also, some of you already have access to the CEO dashboard. If you picked up the AI Mastery course, you might have saw this as an additional add-on. And this is a helpful tool where you are same thing as Google Drive, but it's just organizing it in a different way. Okay. So I'm going to go through and just show you a few benefits to using Notion. So not only can you separate categories, but everything is drag and drop. So unlike Google Drive, where you can drag documents into folders, whereas with Notion, you can literally drag things anywhere that you want in this resource and reorganize the things the way that you want to see them, right? So for me, I want my goals and my vision. I want my core guidelines for my business, the operations, the execution side. And then I have a virtual assistant. And so she helps me, and this is her kind of workspace, right? And so I'm able to see that all in one simple dashboard, but it's easy to navigate. If you asked me, Shoni, I want to know what your logos look like or your brand assets, I can go ahead and click on brand assets. I have my logos on there. I have my color schemes. I have everything simply organized, how our newsletter should look. Why this is important is because now I can pass this on for somebody else to own. Okay. I want you to think in mind with when you organize things in the right way, you can actually have somebody else step into your business or your life and help you to execute. Okay. Leverage is the ultimate superpower in business, is making sure that, let me actually do this little example. So let's just have, how many of you have a to-do list? Okay. Is it written down? It might be, on an app, might be on Todoist or Apple reminders, whatever it might be. You have these tasks. Okay. So let's say that you have task 1, task 2. I want some feedback here. How do people usually decide which task they're going to cross off the list first?
Sometimes it's based on ease. Like, okay, what one can I do the quickest, even though it might not be the one that moves a needle? It's about checking it off. That's how I would do that.
Yep.
Yeah. Timely, someone said. Like someone's gonna text me and ask if I've done it yet if I don't follow up.
Urgent. It's urgent because there's a deadline. Ease. I would say those are probably the two most common. Like that's what we usually default to.
Yep.
Part of it is because our brains are actually hardwired for this. Like our brains are wired for the least amount of energy output. Right. So when you open up your emails, if you pay attention, you probably gravitate towards those emails that are easy to knock off. Whereas somebody is making a request from you that's a little bit more complex, your brain's like, I don't want to deal with that right now. I've got too much on my plate, right? So what would happen if I did this? If I were to say, this task, I'm going to pay you $500 to do. I will pay you this one $17 to do. I'll pay you this one $200 to do, and I'll pay you this one $43 to do. How many of you are choosing the $17 an hour task first? Interesting. Nothing changed except for the lens by which you're looking at these tasks, right? So part of this process is saying that we have to act in order of priority, and our priorities should lean towards the things that have the highest revenue generating opportunities. And why I'm going to talk quite a bit today about leverage, and about, even if you're just starting out, like even starting to think about, how can I get a virtual assistant? Because you want to be able to have them do the $17 an hour tasks. They have to get done, right? There's some things in your business that need to happen. But if you're stuck doing the $17 to $20 an hour tasks, then it's actually stopping you from doing the $500 or $200 an hour tasks. Okay. So it starts with getting clear about, I need to automate, if I can use AI to speed up some of the routine tasks, or can I bring somebody in to my world that helps me to do these tasks so I can focus on what's going to actually move the needle on my income. Okay. So that's where this organization system, for example, if I go into my playbooks, I'm being transparent here, so I'm going to show you kind of behind the scenes. If I go into my SOPs, again, stand for standard operating procedures. It's basically you documenting how a process should be done so that somebody else can come into your world and do it. Okay. Or so that you can do it faster the next time you do it. Because there's things that you do once a month where you're thinking through, like, what is the next step in this process? And so if you actually just document it once, it allows you to do it a lot faster the second time around. Okay. So take time to document your procedures. We'll talk a little bit more about VAs towards the end. But my rockstar assistant, she has 60, essentially 59, standard operating procedures, even down to, she manages our Airbnbs 100%, from guest management to coordinating cleaners to, handling any kind of restocking items. But it's because she has clear operating procedures where she's able to do that. Okay. So it provides her the ability to completely own the process. So Notion, again, is just a storage. It's a way to store information. I like it as a second brain because, again, I am a visual person. So Google Drive is just kind of chaos for me. Google Sheets is how I used to organize information. I used this system in the past until I found Notion about maybe 3 years ago. And now my entire life really is built and lives in Notion. Any questions so far between these two platforms, either Google Sheets as your second brain or Notion, before we jump into actual systems? Do we have any questions?
So Josh asked a great question. Is there a way to connect a Google Drive to Notion? Yes, Notion has a lot of connections. What would you talk about in regards to that? And then also Carrie asked the comparison of Notion to something like Trello, right? Because the Trellos, the Asanas, we can figure out the different ways to utilize this. I will just quickly add before you answer that. That was my selling point when you first said that to me. This is a second brain, immediate relief of, oh, I don't have to carry all of that knowledge, that prioritization, like the vision. I can put it all in one spot and then now go execute and come back for processes. So what would you add? What would you add to those things? Connection,
Yes.
how you're going to use.
So Trello is, it's very one-sided in how you can use the platform. And same thing when you get into Asana. Asana is really for like task management, right?
Mm-hmm.
Or project management. And so, but it's not a great organization system. Like, you actually can't really organize information in Asana. You can use it for projects and tasks. And then with Trello, kind of the reverse, right? It's actually good for storing information, but it's not good at all for tasks. And then also the connecting of information is very hard in that platform. So just some examples of this. Our team, so on the company side, we have projects that we work on, right? So this is basically, Asana is built into Notion. And whenever somebody's tagged on a specific, action item or project, it is actually flowing through automatically from that project database or dashboard onto their personal. Like, let's look at Novalee, for example. So if she has tasks on the actual project board, she doesn't see everybody's tasks. She just sees the ones that she owns. And so from our perspective, it's the best of both worlds where you get projects, you get to organize information, you get tasks. All of that is in Notion. So for us, it is the complete one-stop shop, whereas prior, you might have to jump between different platforms because Trello is not the end-all solution. It doesn't have some of those components that you need. And same with Asana, it's missing some of the functionality that you'd want with a second brain. The searchability function is also one of the powerful tools. So all you need to know is keywords with Notion. So if I hit Command K, I can search for anything. And let's look at AI prompt library, for example. So if I just do AI prompts, as you can see, it pulls up everything that's related to this. So I can go ahead and look at my prompt library, and these are all the AI prompts that we use for our business. And so very easily, we're able to store information and find it very quickly. Again, going back to the systems idea, you want a system that makes it very easy for you to find the information when you need it. Okay. So Notion, in my perspective, is the best layout for that. And really, it's like Google Sheets with Google Docs kind of merged together. So like this is a Google Sheet and this is a spreadsheet here where you've got columns, you've got rows, you can move those around, you can resize them. So you have just a lot of options with Notion that, again, Trello, you can't change the view. You really just have these card views where you can on Notion, you can actually change it to have a card view. So I can go right here. I don't want to get too much into the weeds, but just to show you some perspective, you can change how you see information. So if you want that board view, like Trello does provide, you can actually change it to see that view. So it does give you that flexibility and options. Awesome. Any other questions before we jump into specific strategies?
I know we can go find this, but in general, Notion's cost
$25 a month,
$25K.
and you can add up to 100 people for that $25. So, our staff, we have about 20 people all in all when you count in VAs and things like that. And we have everybody on here for $25 a month, not per person. $25 covers our whole business. That's the upgraded version. So you do have AI in there. Just to show you something really cool with this is if I were to say, they call them databases, and basically think of a database as just like a spreadsheet, but you can have AI build the spreadsheet for you. So if I just say, I need a real estate business tracker, track my buyers and sellers, as well as my financials. So very vague. I'm not giving a ton of detail, but what it will do is it will go build the tracker and that resource for you. Okay. So this is getting more into the AI part of this conversation is you want to use systems that allow for AI to actually help you build the system. Instead of you having to think through it and say, how should I structure it? How should this spreadsheet be formatted? You can actually just have Notion build that for you. And it takes, maybe 15 to 30 seconds, depending on the complexity. But then here you can decide what columns do you want, and you can adjust them afterwards. You then can decide what view that you're seeing this information. So do I want a calendar view, which you can play with the different views here. And a calendar review would say, hey, I have a closing on the 20th. So I want to know what, upcoming closings I have. And so you can track this. And then I want a financial summary as well. So it built that all for me in a matter of seconds. Okay. And now I can go ahead and put in my client information. I can change these as well. So I can say, I don't care about the property value. Obviously I would, but you can say, hey, I don't want this specific, column. I'm going to change that. So it is very flexible in its approach. If you're using Google Sheets, just for clarity, you can do something very similar.
Similar digital whiteboard in here.
Let's see. If you're in Google Sheets, up in the top right corner, you'll see this little Ask Gemini. And you can say what you need. So I need a spreadsheet. Track my real estate business. So if you are going to go the spreadsheet route with Google Sheets, you can totally do the same thing in Google Sheets. And it's just this little Gemini button up in the top right-hand side. Okay. That took about 5 seconds for it to spit out. Okay, so that if you're going to use spreadsheets, I highly recommend it. And then you hit insert, and you can move this around. But that helps you to streamline creating spreadsheets and really just improves your overall processing. Okay.
Shoni, can I interrupt right now?
Yep.
So one question, a big question, I'll answer this question that Spencer asked from my perspective as not Shoni. He is the super user of Notion. The best way to start getting used to and learning Notion is having a template that is, I would suggest having it be related to our industry. And then from there, using it and interacting with it on a daily basis. Opening up Notion and starting from scratch, not my favorite mode. And there are also free templates available on Notion. So I know Shoni's going to talk about a couple because he did mention the course that he has that has some of these. But that's always step one. Would you agree?
100%.
Okay.
Yes. Yeah. The cool thing with Notion is you don't have to build from scratch. That's actually the way I recommend not do this.
Never. Yeah. Never.
It's kind of like you get a box of Legos, like 1,000-piece Lego set, and you can build whatever you want. That's what Notion is. The challenge is for people who maybe are not builder oriented, like just go take another template. So if you go to just Google and you search for Notion templates, there are 30,000 templates in almost any industry and use case that you might need. And all you do is just duplicate it. So you'll see if they're free. Most of them are. Some of the more advanced ones are paid if they have automations and things built in. But I can go ahead and grab this real estate, template for free, and then I can add it to my existing workspace, and I can customize it from there. So I have the full flexibility afterwards to customize it. But I also would recommend like the CRM side I would stay away from. Like if you're already using a CRM, don't try and reinvent the wheel. I do not use Notion for a CRM. I do use it to service my clients though. So I'll show you what the difference looks like. I use Command personally for my real estate business. And so I'll show you the connectedness between those two. So that's the one thing I would encourage is don't go and reinvent the wheel if you already use a platform, but the other side of your business, organizing your standard operating procedures. So that's where you come in here to the library and you can just search for SOP and you'll find 100 templates that are on standard operating procedures. And you can go ahead and look through a few of these. You can view the template before you download it to see if it's the one that you want to use. And then you can go ahead and copy it over to your workspace. Okay. So, but it typically takes about 3 to 4 days of using Notion to get comfortable with it. So if you're going to go that route, I just recommend you play with it for a couple days. And then you'll see that it is a superpower.
Since we're recording this, when you're back on that template that you had where you were showing us how to do something with AI. So if you have the pro version, remind me the prompt or the key. You just you click in there or you just do the backslash.
Yeah, you do the backslash.
Yeah. And then it pulls up the whole menu. I know that is the smallest thing, but you all will get in there and go, wait, what did he do?
Yeah. Yes.
So I wanted that to be on the recording.
For sure.
Yeah.
Kimber, so you hit the backslash and then it gives you all of your options. You can have AI record your meeting notes if you're with a team, and then it will organize those for you. You can have an AI block where it will answer a question. You can also just ask AI. So you can say, hey, if I just ask a question, so I have my book list in here and everything. So in my notes from the books that I read, so it can go through and it's going to read, as you can see, AI is reading my entire second brain. That's the power behind this, is when you start building somewhere, it can actually find the answer. So they'll say, hey, you've read this book, Unreasonable Hospitality, and it'll take me to those different resources. So that's one of the cool things with this platform, is that you can actually ask AI, but you can also have it build with this building block. So you have multiple options on there. Let's, for sake of time, let's jump into specific systems. Okay. So let's look at your client servicing system. This is one easy way to just improve the quality of service you deliver to your clients. I'm going to send out this prompt so you all have it, but I recommend how many of you have your entire buyer's or seller's email sequence stored somewhere? So when a buyer is working with you, they go under contract or you're at a financing and appraisal deadline, like, do you have a sequence of emails and how are they currently stored? I'd love in the chat, type in how you currently store those email templates if you have them. And if you don't have them, also drop that into the chat. And this is where I'm going to pull up and just show you what the experience looks like for my clients. So I go into command into my my opportunities. So this is my pipeline of business. And if I go to a client that's under contract, in whatever phase that they're in, you'll see these checklist items. So these checklist items automatically pop up depending on whatever stage that I move them into. You'll see that I have a system for what experience my clients are going to receive, and that makes sure that all clients get the same experience. But let's just go ahead and say I have a client who just went under contract. You'll notice when I open up my checklist, it says you need to email them the under contract email. When I click on that, it will actually take me right to Notion where that email template is stored. So all I'm having to do is copy this email, open up my email platform, and change the dates and their name. That's pretty much it. Everything else is it's the same thing I say to every single client. I shouldn't rethink of how to write this email or craft this email every single time. Every time I go under contract, I just go to the template and then I just make some tweaks or adjustments. Okay. So this allows for you to operate with speed, but it also allows you to have somebody else take on this project for you, right? So if you have it documented like this, somebody else can do those tasks, right? So you can have a VA or a personal admin that comes in and helps you with servicing your clients. This is what mine looks like. So again, this is built within Notion. So we have buyers, we have sellers, we have investors. They all have different, experiences going through, but let me just go through and just kind of show you some of these emails. So again, this is 100% built on Notion, but we have the welcome to your home search process. We have the offer strategy. So once we are actually going to put in an offer, I recommend what their offer should look like. I give them some recommendations and then they can decide what they want to tweak. When we're sending over the offer to the agent on the other side, very simple template, connects them with our lender, and has all the necessary information. I just change the purchase price, earnest money amount. We're under contract. What happens next? So helping a buyer understand the next, few steps ahead. And again, all we have to do is replace some of these placeholders. The colored sections are placeholders for us to change or adjust. So this just makes it so we're able to deliver a way better experience to our clients, but it's systematized. So going back to that McDonald's experience, right? We know from A to Z what the client experience is going to look like, not only on the email sequence side, but also some of the smaller, checklist items that need to happen, which either you are programming it on your CRM if your CRM has that capability, or you are using a spreadsheet that looks like this. Let me find it. So if you do not have a CRM that allows you to program the checklist steps in there, you can do it on a spreadsheet. So you can say, here's my seller listing checklist. Here's my buyer checklist. This is the experience that they received during the cultivate phase or the nurture phase where they're not actually a hot or ready buyer right now. This is what happens once I get an appointment. So from scheduling to appointments kept to, they need follow-up, whatever the case may be. So just having a checklist, and then you can actually just name this. You can duplicate the template and name it per client. So this is Kimber. And now every time that we go through the process, we can go ahead and check these things off of what's been done throughout their experience. So this is the process. If your CRM does not allow you to program checklist items in there, you can just simply do it in a Google spreadsheet and keep track of your client experience. Okay. You can also build that in Notion as well. You can have Notion build the process for you, and have the client process kind of just defined in there. Okay. Any questions so far before I jump into the next system?
I think Daylisa's question that just came in is good. So Notion, she asked, are the Notion stored templates an easier process than storing them in like smart plans in Commander, storing them in your CRM. I think what you're suggesting is the templates, the origination of the system of Shoni Ivan's real estate team is always held in Notion. It doesn't mean that you don't translate that over to maybe a MailChimp or a CRM or what? Tell me, talk that out.
Yeah. So for the emails specifically, because it's not always the right, like I don't personally want them to be automatically sent, because like timelines can change. The buyer that's just went under contract, their due diligence may not be the same timeline as your next buyer. And so I do not want those automatically going out to them because I may not be able to add the right context. Right. And so with ours, we have it just as a checklist item. As soon as we say, okay, they're now in the home inspection phase, we're preparing them for the home inspection. Well, okay, we need to prepare for home inspection email to be sent. So for me, I like it to be an automatic or a manual process so that we can add any kind of contextual, stuff in there.
So that what you just did is the answer. So he puts in the hyperlink that's in the checklist for command that will link him straight to the source. So the Notion is the source,
Yes.
aka the brain, and the system is currently we're showing command as our CRM.
Exactly. Yeah. So
Perfect.
Yep.
That's great. That explained
Can
that.
I ask a clarifying question though?
Please.
So I get what you're saying. What my question is, because I agree. I don't have them as a string of smart plans because of that same thing with timing. But I keep the original template in command because then it auto feeds all my information and the client information, it fills the fields for me. So I was just curious, when you were taking it from Notion, how are you sending it out so that it makes it a streamlined process?
So I'll go into like the next level, the next kind of layer. I create and store all of our information in Notion. I don't actually go and copy paste that. And same thing, my VA has access to, we use Superhuman. Okay. So we use this emailing platform. So for example, all we do is this little short code and it pulls up all of our email templates. So if I say a buyer's under contract, it's going to put all the information in, and then we just have to change the date, the earnest money. So it speeds up the process where all we're doing is going right to our email platform saying this person's under contract. All we need to do is change their name and send it out.
And that makes sense. So, okay. Thank you.
But if you're not using Superhuman, then, I don't personally like Gmail's templates. For those who might use this, because I get asked this question, if you use Gmail and you go to send a template, in the bottom right-hand side, you can save templates, but it is kind of messy and you have to go manually search for them when you're ready to send them. And so if you have a ton of them in here, so like this is our very old system, this is probably 4 or 5 years old, like it is work to look for the right email. You can't just type the keyword and have it pop up and add everything. So that's where I don't like Gmail's features. Superhumans is far better, where all I have to do is type the keyword seller and boom, it pops up to the top and then I hit enter and it's in there ready to go. So speed and efficiency, right, is what your system should provide. So store it somewhere, easy to access is level 1. If you really want to automate it like this, get a platform that allows you to build some of these templates in So for time, I'm not going to go into the depth on Superhuman, but that's one route that you can take. Okay. All right. We're going to jump over to another system, which is really different than what we've been talking about. How many of you have a VA or have thought about hiring a VA? Okay. Like 50% of you. Okay. So I'm going to just show you, we have 5 virtual assistants. I have 3 at the brokerage level, and then I have 2 personal assistants. And I'll go through and show you some of the things that we've been able to, not only have them be able to take on, but we're able to deliver better quality service to our clients because we have a streamlined process. The roadblock that I've found has always been not knowing what can you have a VA do for you and how do you intelligently leverage them, right? How do you actually give them processes, procedures, or ask them to do tasks? So we are going to throw out just an incentive. I know some of you have already have access to the AI Mastery course. All of you who have access, you're going to get this resource for free. Those who jump on the AI Mastery course, you're also going to have access to this. And essentially what it is, I built my brain of how to leverage a VA within ChatGPT as a custom GPT. So the one thing that you want to look at is you can already use ChatGPT to leverage your virtual assistant better. And one example of this, if I were to say menu, or what are some of the things I can have my assistant help me with, this process, it streamlines how you're delegating. So I want you to drop into the chat, if you could have somebody else help you with a specific task on your to-do list this week, what would some of those items be? What would you like to pass on to somebody else and say, like, I know it needs to get done, but it's annoying and it's not highest and best use of my time? What are some of those things that you would personally outsource? Creating flyers, calling leads like an ISA, printing and mailing letters to a target area. I'm going to go ahead and just play with this for a second and take some of these ideas that you guys are giving. So for me, I have a weekly planning process. I usually do this on Saturdays, and I essentially will build out the 3 to 7 different tasks that I need help with. My virtual assistants already have kind of a repetitive, like every 2 weeks, this needs to be done, or every day, these are the things that need to be focused on. But then there are the random things where it's like, man, I need this specific task. I need help with this. And so I want you to think about, how do you systematize your leverage, right? So for me, I just say weekly planning to my ChatGPT, and it says, great, what 3 to 7 tasks would you like me to help delegate this week? And so I'm going to take a few of these. I'm going to take social media. I need 3 social media posts created with specific MOFers. I need 3 MOFers or 3 social media posts. I need a newsletter. I need my post a newsletter. And the context with this is you want to add in whatever tool that you do use, because what it's going to do is actually build out the steps with using that tool for your VA. So you don't have to think through that yourself. You shouldn't have to train your VA on, hey, this is exactly how you use this specific tool. AI can help do that for you. I'm going to take one more task from this list that you guys threw out. Printing and mailing letters to a target area. So let's just say sending mailers to around my active listing in Pleasant Grove. So the beauty of this is it's now going to create the email to your VA, and also it is going to ask you some questions, because it might say, hey, I need some clarity. I'm going to say skip this step just for time, but I would actually be a little bit more intentional and say, and answer the questions that it's asked me. So it's going to say, okay, this is the task brief, and this would be essentially your subject line on the email. And then here's the things I need some help with this week. Here's my priorities. We need to create 3 social media MOFR posts. We need to build our real estate email newsletter outline in Command, and we need to send mailers to Pleasant Grove. And so with this process, of course, if I would have answered those questions, it would have went into more depth on these. But you want to be able to package this and just send this email to your VA or your admin every week, right? So it streamlines the process of how you're working with each other. The other side is if you're creating an SOP. So let's say that I'm creating an SOP for let's do our client event for marketing our upcoming client event. Any of you have client events coming up? We've got one at the office level that we're doing, and agents consistently do client events, and think about how many steps are included in that process. So I'm going to give it a very simple prompt. And having it and with ChatGPT 5, I love this new addition that they did where now it will think longer for a better response. Where sometimes in the past, it would go ahead and just jump right into the task. It was optimized for speed. Now, when you say this specific line, think through, it will cause it to think for longer. So it'll provide you with a better response up front. So just a little side tip, if you're using ChatGPT 5, you now can say think through or think about the steps, and it will actually cause it to think a little bit longer. So we'll see the response that it's going to give us here, and you'll see the level of quality while I'm going to pull up something else for us to go through. And I know we only have about 8 minutes left. So any questions or specific areas that you want me to dig into, knowing the time that we have? Okay.
My light keeps turning off. Shoni, one thing, you can do it at the very end, but there's been a lot of questions throughout the whole class of your AI mastery course, CEO dashboard. I've gotten a lot of questions on that. I said I would share it at the end. Are we going to share it at the end, the link, or just even in the follow-up email?
Yeah, we will throw it out.
What does that look like?
Yeah, for sure. So we will throw it out in the follow-up email
Okay.
we're doing.
Yeah.
We're going to make it very easy for everybody. So the course normally is $9.99. We're going to, for everybody who's on today, we're going to discount that to the $297. But all of the systems I'm sharing with you, we're going to actually include outside of the CEO dashboard. That's a little different structure. But all of the email templates that I've shown you, my personal client email templates, those will be included. The systems that we've gone through, the spreadsheets, that stuff like that, the template version of them, you guys will have access to. But the AI Mastery course, it goes into deep dive on how you really can leverage AI more intelligently in your business. And there's a lot of different categories, but we'll send that out in the email recap. Thanks, Kimber. So,
and Daly's asked about Asana as far as linking it. I think it's like all the other things that Notion can link. Like I know even when you did a backslash when we were pulling up AI, if you have Asana as a connection, it should just show up right there. I personally haven't used the connection, so I don't know.
You can link pretty much any tool in here, and it is in connections. So most of the tools that you're used to, if you want Make or Zapier or Gmail, your emails can come in here, Google Drive, and it's really easy to link things. So if I just copy this template, for example, let's say this is my pipeline checklist, I can go right over to Notion and just link it in here. So I can link the URL, or I can do my client checklist and paste it over top. So this little link pops up. Where is it? There it is, right here. And you can paste it on top of any words. So you can link all of your resources in here very easily, whether it's a Google Sheet, documents, stuff like that. You can also embed it if you want. So you can actually have the spreadsheet or resource actually show up right within Notion. So you can have your checklist in here. It's still, you can interact with it on here or link into the resource. So it is very dynamic in what you can bring in. And then you can do like these backslashes again and type whatever, Trello or Asana, and that's how you can bring in resources from those existing places. Okay. Great question, Spencer. You just asked if I ever create landing pages for listings on Notion. I don't for listings. I obviously do for a lot of the resources we send out to you guys. So any of you who were in the wealth building event that we had last month, the AI Wealth, for example. Oops. This is the resource that we sent out to all of you. It's built in Notion. So when people see it, it looks just like a website. All we did is build it in Notion. As you can see, they can't access anything else. But it looks like a standalone website, and you can paste, you can embed videos in here that can be played. So it is dynamic in how you build out this brain. And again, it's very easy to. So here's one example, and what I would recommend is another system is getting clear about your lead generation funnels. How do you attract clients into your world, into your business? And then also, what are some of the offers that you're sending out? So going back to my initial piece from that Tony Robbins event is that the key to scaling your business is about innovation and marketing. On the marketing side, you want to think with a different approach. Instead of marketing yourself, this is just my recommendation, is you want to market solutions to the problems or challenges that your clients are facing. That's the number one shift that you can make in your marketing approach that will get you more business in your pipeline, is start to make offers that solve a problem for your clients. For example, if you know that buyers are challenged by high interest rates right now, you might want to start throwing out a mortgage hacks playbook to them. You might want to say that I have a solution to this high interest rate environment. If you were to post on Facebook, 5% interest rates are back, reach out to find out how to get one, you're going to have, or download this PDF guide on how to get one. All you want to be able to track is who downloaded that resource. So it means there's a lead capture that put in their email, their phone number, their name to download that free PDF. And then it can show them 3 different strategies to getting a lower interest rate. Okay. So that's just one example. Or a client event, right? That could be another lead magnet where you're not necessarily solving a problem, you're inviting them to something of value. Okay. So my recommendation is, even in Notion or Google Sheets, whatever, build a library of offers that you can recycle through. So there's timeless MOFers, and then there's timely MOFers. Timely means depending on what's happening in the world or the market, you might make some strategic offers in that time. And the opposite too is that there's timeless MOFers. It's the same resource you should be posting once a year, every single year, right? For example, a first-time homebuyer seminar. There's going to be first-time home buyers this year, and there's going to be first-time home buyers in 10 years. So once you create that resource one time, and the offer, the Facebook copy, you can actually recycle through that once every quarter or every year, whatever you would like. So what you want to do though is think about, do you have a library of offers that you're making in the marketplace right now? And you can either store this again in Google Sheets, or in my perception, I love Notion again, because you can see it like this, where it is visual. So I can say, okay, I need my golden letter, my equity assessment document. Where's the template? Well, it took me right to it. And this will allow us to go ahead and just change the market update, right? What are the current stats? We send it out, and then here's the MOFer, is that see your home value. They have to scan it, put their information in, and it pings me to do a CMA for them. So create your library of MOFers. That's a system in itself, is building a library like this where you can easily find what are your lead generation strategies, and then what are your what's the playbook for your lead MOFers, okay? Lead magnets. To wrap up, I'm going to show you one final system, which is what I'll call the ultimate referral system. And this is where you can use AI to help you create some of these touch points. For time, we're not going to be able to go through the entire part, but I am going to send this out to you all. This is something that I've spent a lot of time on over the last 4 years, is getting intentional around how I get referrals. This is the one part that I recommend as a strategy. This is a different tweak on probably your current system. How many of you provide a client gift or a closing gift when they buy or sell a home with you? How many of you do that currently? Okay. A good chunk of you. Awesome. So I personally shifted about 3.5, maybe 4 years ago. I do not do a closing gift. What I will do is I'll do strategic gifting for anywhere from 1 year to 3 years, depending on the client. So there's a platform out there. It's called Client Giant. Now, this is part of my checklist. So when we close, my virtual assistant jumps on and sets my client up on this program. So if you go to Client Giant and you go to the top of mind option, it's $10 per month, and they will get a gift every single quarter. There's studies that show people don't care about the actual, the item value. Like, they don't care if the gift you're giving them is $25 or $125. What they care about is the consistency, the frequency, and just the thoughtfulness, right? So the question is, well, why not strategically gift to your clients over the next year, where they're going to get gifts from you 4 times, right? Where you're bringing back that top of mind and you're elevating, right, their emotional state towards you, right? So this is what some of the responses from my clients. Hey, how was your trip, by the way? Thanks for the gift you and Julie always send us. Hey, thank you for the gifts. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much for the thoughtful birthday gift. Thank you for the DoorDash gift card. Thank you so much for the travel pouch. Most of these were just gifts from Client Giant. They provide a little card with all gifts, and the card is always different, but they sign off as you. This is just how you provide a system, right? I have, I don't know, maybe 75 clients that are on this, and I can't think through what gifts should I send them this quarter, right? I don't have to, because Client Giant takes that off of our plate. So I pay $10 a month, and I cannot tell you, most of my business, 90% of my business is referral business. And I don't, obviously with my role, I don't do any kind of prospecting. Most of my clients come from just the strategic gifting strategy. With the strategic gifting, the one recommendation I would give you is that to think about it in two ways. One is thoughtful and one is consistent. The Client Giant is the consistency. You can do that for all clients with ease. The other one, though, is if you want to be very intentional, think of your VIP clients. Think of the ones who are going to send you a lot of repeat business, or referral business, or maybe they're investors, so they repeat with you. And that's where you can get a little bit more intentional. I'll share with this quick video that I received from one of my clients.
Hey, Joni, thank you very much for gift card. As you can see, we are thoroughly enjoying it up here. We took the lift up to the top of the mountain, had an amazing lunch. This is breathtaking. I've never seen mountains like this before, and I can't wait to come back in the winter and ski it. So thank you for the gift and exposing me to this magic land.
So thank you, Ava.
Say thanks, Joni.
Shouting. Thank you.
So for those who've been to Sundance, right, beautiful location, and these clients specifically were from California. They bought multiple rental properties for me. So instead of just giving them a random gift, I wanted to give them an experience, something that they would remember as a family. So we just bought a nice gift card for them to be able to go have dinner, in this location. And so, or lunch. And so the perspective is just think through, how can I get one of my clients, he's very health conscious. I know that he has a lot of, physical fitness goals. So I ended up getting him one of these Aura rings that tracks his sleep. And that was one of the messages you saw in there as well, where he's like, man, thank you so much for this ring. I've been thinking about getting one. And so you can just be very intentional with your systems of how you deliver value to your clients over time. So I know, again, we jumped through quite a few hoops today. The one foundational piece is to think through what system are you going to build on your second brain, and then what are the actual systems that you need to start improving. Your client delivery system, which is your email kit, and then your lead generation side, your client gifting strategy to call out more referrals from your database and from your sphere. So just start thinking through those different areas where your business can be improved. So as we're wrapping up, let's go ahead and get a few ahas, top takeaways, things that stood out to you today, and then any remaining questions as we wrap up.
Yeah, come off of mute. We'd love your ahas.
Yep, I'll share mine.
Big.
Notion is a huge game changer. Wow. Superhuman email, never heard of that. I'm excited for that. And then this Client Giant thing. I mean, these are all amazing. I'm sold. I'm waiting for that email for the link.
Yeah, we'll send it out. Thanks for sharing. Jordan, what's the lead capture form you use when they request the download? We use something called CARD, CARRD, and it is card landing pages. I want to say it's like $50 for the year. Like, it's very cost effective, and you can have a ton of landing pages on here. And they have a bunch of templates that you can use, and you can customize how they look and feel. Yeah, sorry, for time's sake, we're not gonna be able to access it, but Card is where I would go check it out. And it's a very easy platform to navigate and build your landing pages. So when I'm making an offer and people go to download it, they're taken to Card, and that's where they can actually download the resource after putting in their contact info. Time to work on the second brain, absolutely. Jimmy, great takeaway. Create SOPs that will free my time and grow my business, absolutely. Yeah.
I'm curious to know of the programs that you do have, and you on the email that you're going to send out. Is there like a here's system one? This is what I recommend that you start and do first, and then I have this other sophisticated course where you would do this one. What's the structure for your programs?
So there's going to be kind of two different layers in the email recap. Those of you who know me by now, um, probably know that we have in the background, right? This is being recorded. We're going to take this to Otter. It's going to provide us with a really high level recap, right, of this conversation, so that it's going to split into two different avenues, right? Those who are just starting, like where's kind of ground zero, so you don't get overwhelmed, like start here. And then if you're like, hey, I really need a little bit more advanced systems, maybe I have a team, or maybe I'm really in scale mode. I'm a solo, agent that's just crushing it, and I really need some leverage. So it will give you kind of three different avenues to take depending on where your business is at.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, awesome. Well, we'll get that email recap sent out to you all. Have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you the next session.
I did link it. I'll link it one more time. Lead gen in the age of AI is the subject.
Yeah, next month is just specifically, every month it's a different deep dive on different topics. So next month is just on lead generation. So we'll focus on how, I'm actually going to show you a platform that will blow your mind when it comes to more intelligent lead generation in your business. And so you want to be on that one. So click that link. That will also be in the recap email so you can register for the next session. And we would love to see you there. Okay. Have a great weekend. Thanks all.
Thank you.